This is your tech news briefing for Friday, February 3rd. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. This week, TikTok brought a group of journalists on a tour of its new Transparency and Accountability Center just outside Los Angeles. It's the latest step by the popular social media app to calm concerns from U.S. lawmakers and regulators who worry TikTok's Chinese ownership exposes the app, and by extension its users, to oversight by Beijing. It's part of a host of steps TikTok is taking to give more insight into how its systems work. But it's not the first company to try this strategy. With me to discuss the new center and its possible impact is our social media reporter, Georgia Wells. Hey, Georgia. Great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you visited this Transparency and Accountability Center. What was it like?
TikTok's Transparency and Accountability Center, it felt like a museum exhibit or like the visitor center for a national park or some other kind of curated display you might visit. And so you walk in and it has these big computer screens or digital screens that show different kind of curated snippets of information about the company's privacy policies and how the company makes moderation decisions and different tools the company has for teen users or family, ways that families can use TikTok together. And then also in this cluster of rooms, there's these computer modules where you can try your hand at kind of moderating TikTok's videos the way some of their thousands and thousands and thousands of content moderators have to do it. So it was a way to learn more about TikTok in a way that the company wanted to teach people about its kind of role in the world.
Who do they expect to bring through this center, apart from journalists that they brought in the other day?
TikTok is looking to bring regulators, lawmakers, possibly academics, like anybody who has a serious interest in TikTok and its future in this country.
Can you tell us a little bit about the context for why TikTok is doing this?
TikTok has been working with U.S. regulators for more than 2 years to try to convince them that there's a way that TikTok could kind of create this standalone unit in the U.S. to operate. And the whole goal here is to try to alleviate concerns that the Chinese government could pressure TikTok's Chinese corporate owner to either collect data on Americans or serve them or influence the content it serves to its users.
What is TikTok trying to do with this move?
TikTok appears to be trying to adjust its public image to be a company that kind of shares more information proactively. TikTok actually started working on this Transparency Center back in 2020. And that was around the time when the Trump administration was talking about banning TikTok. So clearly, like, TikTok was in the hot seat at that time. But then the pandemic obviously delayed the creation and opening of this Transparency Center. But these concerns about TikTok's relationship with its Chinese parent company have been lingering for a really long time. And TikTok is, I think, hoping to see some closure in the next year on these issues. It appears that this transparency campaign is one piece of TikTok's effort to convey that it is operating more transparently.
We talk about lawmakers being upset with TikTok. Is this something that lawmakers on both sides of the aisle agree on?
So we're starting to see a lot more bipartisan consensus that something needs to happen with TikTok. If you rewind to mid-2020, the concerns around TikTok were actually usually more Republican lawmaker concerns. But now we're seeing more and more Democratic lawmakers express similar concerns. Mike Gallagher is a really good example of that.
So then how much of an impact do we actually expect this center to make given that growing bipartisan concern?
It's hard to quantify how much of an impact this could have, but I think that it's just one piece of TikTok's new campaign to try and use transparency to build some trust in Washington. So I don't know, the future will tell whether or not this kind of makes serious inroads.
This strategy, this Transparency Center strategy, we've seen it before, right?
Huawei. So Huawei is notable because it's the other main sort of success story of a consumer brand from China that really made it big outside China that also faced kind of similar concerns from regulators. And in 2019, Huawei opened what it called the Cybersecurity Transparency Center in Brussels. And Brussels, as you know, is the home to the headquarters of the EU. And so at that opening back in 2019, a Huawei executive said that they hoped to showcase the company's cybersecurity practices And so Huawei was in this similar position of trying to convince regulators there that it could be trusted to operate in a way that would protect customers from any influence from the Chinese government.
So how successful was the strategy then for Huawei in Brussels?
So in Brussels, it didn't work that well. Many experts expressed skepticism about what Huawei was trying to show them.
TikTok shared some other news this week about its algorithm, right?
So TikTok also shared more details about how its app's moderation system and algorithm systems worked. And so this also appears to be kind of part of a broader offensive tactic to try to kind of share more with users, include users more ahead of some decision making so that people understand better why they're seeing what they're seeing on the app.
Georgia, you were speaking with us just the other day about these changes that TikTok is making. I mean, they keep coming out with new strategies. What happens next?
So TikTok is still trying to convince U.S. lawmakers and U.S. regulators that this system to silo off a portion of its operations in the U.S. could work. But meanwhile, we've got some bills to ban TikTok kind of winding their way through Congress. So it's really a question mark right now how this is going to pan out for TikTok.
All right, that's our reporter, Georgia Wells. Thanks for joining us, Georgia.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
And that's it for Tech News Briefing this week. TNB's producer is Julie Chang. Our supervising producer is Melanie Roy, and our executive producer is Chris Zinsley. I'm your host, Zoe Thomas. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.